At the end of a narrow street stood a small watch shop. Its wooden sign had faded, and its windows carried years of dust. Yet inside, hundreds of clocks continued to move, as if the little shop had forgotten how to become silent. In the center sat Thomas, an aging watchmaker with silver hair, round glasses, and tired but careful eyes. For 50 years, people had brought him clocks that had stopped, and Thomas had almost always made them move again. But there was one thing Thomas had never learned to repair: lost time. That truth waited beside him every evening, hidden beneath the ordinary work on his crowded bench. Under a warm desk lamp stood an unfinished walnut clock, larger and more beautiful than anything Thomas had built before. He opened a notebook and wrote, "Final clock. Day 73. Then his fingers began to shake. Thomas waited for the shaking to stop and looked at an old photograph above his desk. It showed a younger Thomas beside his wife, Mary, and their 10-year-old son, David. All three were smiling.
I thought we had more time.
That afternoon, a letter arrived in handwriting Thomas recognized immediately.
Dear Dad, Sam and Emma have school holidays next week. They have been asking about you. We will arrive on Monday.
The letter contained only a few lines, but Thomas read them again and again. For the first time in years, the clocks around him made Thomas feel nervous. He cleaned the upstairs room, washed the dusty windows, folded 2 old blankets, and placed fresh flowers beside the bed. When David was a child, he had loved the watch shop. He would sit beside his father and watch every careful repair. But as David grew older, the shop took more and more of Thomas's time. Thomas missed school events, family dinners, and David's final football match.
I'm doing this for our family.
But David did not want more money. He wanted his father. On Sunday night, Thomas returned to the unfinished clock and opened a drawer. Inside were 3 sealed envelopes marked David, Sam, and Emma. He placed them in a hidden compartment and locked it with a small brass key. On Monday morning, a taxi stopped outside the shop. David stepped out first, serious and guarded. Sam followed, 15 and curious. Emma, 17 and observant, carried a notebook beneath her arm.
You found the place.
It has not changed.
Thomas understood that David was not speaking only about the building. They ate lunch in the small kitchen above the shop. Thomas asked about school, work, football, and writing. Sam and Emma answered kindly. David spoke only when necessary, and the silence between father and son remained.
I still have your old wooden train.
You kept the train, but you missed the day I received it.
Thomas slowly placed his cup on the table. No one knew how to fill the silence that followed. That afternoon, Sam entered the workshop and stared at the shelves of gears, springs, tools, and glass-covered clocks.
Do all these clocks work? Most of them. What about that large one? That is my final clock. Why final? Because every craftsman must know when to stop, and this clock must tell more than time.
Emma stopped beside the old family photograph.
Is that Grandmother Mary?
Yes. She had a kind smile and a kind everything.
Thomas remembered Mary bringing tea while he promised to finish one last repair. He remembered looking up hours later and finding that she had gone to bed alone.
I thought there would always be another day.
Was there?
That evening, Sam noticed a small brass key beneath Thomas's notebook.
What does it open? A part of the final clock that should remain closed until the right time arrives.
Heavy rain covered the town after sunset, and the electricity upstairs failed. The family gathered in the workshop while Thomas lit several lamps. Warm light traveled across the clocks and long shadows filled the walls. Sam asked how a mechanical clock worked. Thomas showed him the spring, the gears, and the balance wheel.
Every part depends on another part. When one small gear stops, the entire clock can fail.
Families are not clocks, Dad.
No, they are much harder to repair.
The words remained between them while the rain continued against the windows.
You always repaired things for strangers, but you never had time to repair things with us.
I know.
When Mum became ill, you stayed here. We were afraid, and I needed you.
I was afraid too. I did not know how to watch her suffer. So I worked.
And after she died?
I continued hiding. Clocks followed rules. Grief did not.
I was 15. I lost my mother, and then I lost you too.
I cannot return the years I missed. I can only tell you that I am sorry,
Then why are you building one more clock?
because I finally understand what it should say.
Thomas reached for the edge of the table. His face became pale, and the small gear in his hand fell away.
Grandfather?
David caught him before he reached the floor. An ambulance arrived through the rain and carried Thomas to the hospital. For the first time in 50 years, the watch shop was left completely dark. Thomas opened his eyes the following morning. David sat beside the bed while Sam and Emma waited near the window. The doctor explained that Thomas's heart was weak. He needed rest and could no longer work through long nights.
The clock is not finished.
You nearly died, and you are worried about a clock?
It is not for the shop.
Then who is it for?
For all of you.
3 days later, Thomas returned home. David wanted him to rest upstairs. Instead, Thomas asked the family to bring the unfinished clock into the living room and place it near the window.
I cannot finish it alone.
Sam pulled a chair closer. Emma opened her notebook. David remained standing. Thomas looked directly at his son. He was not only asking for help with the clock, he was asking for a chance. David slowly sat down. For the next several days, Thomas taught Sam how to clean the gears and test the balance wheel. Emma polished the walnut case, while David repaired a damaged hinge and checked every screw. At first, their conversations were careful. Then Thomas began telling stories from David's childhood. David corrected the parts Thomas remembered wrongly, and the room slowly filled with warmth again. Emma found an old cassette tape inside a drawer. A faded label said, "For David's 15th birthday."
Can we play it?
Thomas nodded, although his hands had begun to tremble. "David, your father and I are proud of you. Growing older will ask for courage, but you do not have to face life alone. And Thomas, close the shop early today. Your son needs you more than those clocks do." When the recording ended, Thomas covered his face with his hands. David sat beside him. This time, he did not leave.
We cannot change that day, Dad. But we are here now.
The clock was almost complete, but one important brass gear was missing.
I made it years ago. Without it, the mechanism cannot move.
David studied Thomas's drawing and suddenly remembered something from childhood. They opened David's old wooden train. Inside was the strange brass wheel he had found as a boy.
The clock was waiting for you.
No, Dad. You were.
On the final evening, Thomas placed the missing gear inside the clock. Sam secured the back panel. Emma cleaned the glass. David attached the hands with careful fingers. Thomas inserted the small brass key into the hidden lock. The compartment opened, revealing the 3 envelopes he had prepared before their arrival.
You may read them now.
My dear David, I once believed providing for a family was the same as being present for them. I was wrong. You deserved a father who attended your important days and stayed beside you during the painful ones. I cannot repair the past. But do not wait until life becomes quiet before making time for the people you love.
David lowered the letter.
I am sorry.
I am still angry. But I do not want anger to take more years from us.
Curiosity is a gift. Protect it. Learn how things work, but never treat people like machines.
Sam smiled through wet eyes and folded the letter carefully.
Stories preserve moments that time tries to carry away. Write honestly, and remember the people you love while they are still beside you. I will.
I know.
Thomas turned the key. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the hands began to move, and the clock face opened like a small window. Behind the face was a painted family tree and a simple message. Time is not what a clock keeps. Time is what a family shares. A gentle melody Mary had loved filled the room. No one watched the hands. They watched one another. The next morning, Thomas removed the faded sign from outside the shop.
What are you doing?
Retiring.
I never thought I would hear you say that.
I have spent enough time repairing minutes. Now I want to live some.
He placed an arm around Sam and looked toward his family instead of the workbench. Thomas did not completely stop repairing clocks. Once a week, he invited young students into the workshop. He taught patience, careful observation, and respect for old things. Sam helped with the tools, and Emma recorded his stories. One afternoon, Emma placed a camera near the window. Thomas sat beside David while Sam stood behind them. For the first time in many years, Thomas did not look toward his work. He looked directly at his family. Weeks later, a customer brought an old pocket watch that had belonged to his grandfather.
I do not need it to be perfect. I only want my son to hold the same memory I once held.
Thomas understood exactly what the man meant. Thomas guided David and Sam as they opened the watch and examined its delicate balance wheel.
Move slowly. A careful hand can protect a memory that has traveled through generations.
The shop no longer felt like a place where Thomas hid from life. Teacups, tools, unfinished stories, and family laughter now shared the same workbench. Emma began writing about the shop, the final clock, and the ordinary days people often fail to notice.
A good story does not stop time. It helps us remember why a moment mattered.
Sam returned whenever school allowed. He learned to hold tiny tools steadily and to listen before touching a mechanism.
I used to think clocks were only machines. The best ones carry people inside them.
One quiet evening, Thomas and David sat across from each other beneath the lamp.
I cannot promise that every old hurt is gone.
You do not have to. Staying is enough for today.
Thomas showed Sam how to polish the clock hands without bending them.
Small details deserve patience. They are often the first things people notice when care is missing.
Together, they placed the restored face over the moving gears. David checked the frame, Emma cleaned the glass, and Sam stepped back with quiet pride. Thomas offered the key to Sam.
Your turn.
Sam wound the clock carefully. The mechanism came alive without hurry, exactly as Thomas had taught him. The old photograph of Mary remained beside the new family picture, not as a doorway into regret, but as part of their shared story. Life does not pause while we are busy. Children grow, parents become older, and ordinary days quietly become memories. We cannot recover every missed moment, but while time is still moving, we can choose differently. Call the person you have been avoiding. Sit beside someone who needs you. Listen without checking the time. The greatest treasure we leave behind is not the time a clock records. It is the time we choose to share.